And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wheel Talk, the podcast with a guy in a wheelchair and a girl in a wheelchair. What up, Brittany? How's it going?
What's up? I'm good. I feel like I'm coming down with something a little bit that I'm fighting, but other than that, I'm good. A little tired, but hanging in there. Excited to be back on the podcast cuz I missed it last week, so.
You did, yeah. It's been a couple of weeks since we last spoke, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to chat with you again and see what's been going on.
Mm. Um what was I even doing last week? I can't even remember why I couldn't do it last week.
Were you at like a doctor's appointment or something?
Oh, yeah, I was at a doctor's appointment with my sister. She had to go for a
Yeah.
biopsy. She had like a lump that needed biopsying, but it was fine. So,
No.
and I thought it was going to be like super short. I actually scheduled like myself to work that afternoon, and then I had to, rearrange that too because who knew a biopsy takes so long. It took us like an hour and a bit in the waiting room, and then when we got in there, they were like, I think it was like an hour, and then she had to wait a little bit after. So I was just like, wow. So
Mhm.
I was like way underestimated that day, but
Yeah. Did you end up listening to the podcast with Brian last week?
I started listening to it, but I only listened to maybe like 5 minutes before I got distracted, and then I never went back to it. What did you guys talk about?
We touched on the trip on the thing that I wanted to talk about today actually, which was the trip to Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
So getting into it, I'll just let you know where I'm at. We've got two options. One is to do a big road trip, which will be a really fun adventure, but it's also a lot longer. And then the second option would be like a much more calm holiday. We fly over there and we see my friend Benji and his wife and where he lives and stuff, and that would be quite a you know more relaxing experience, I think. But then the adventure is the adventure. So the road trip is going to cost a hell of a lot more money. It's going to take a lot more time. We'll probably like take a week to get there. Then we're there for like 4 days, and then probably longer than that on the way back. So we're going to do it a little bit more relaxed, and we can see more. Like there's things that I want to do. Like I want to buy a little scooter attachment, so when we stop places, we can get the scooter out of the van and like boost around and go and explore. And there'll be more memories. There'll be more adventure. There'll be more fun. There'll be more photos. There'll be more places that we could visit.
Yeah.
But there'll be more stress. There'll definitely be more stress. And Chris, because we're thinking about taking the van, so then Chris will have to do all the driving, so that will fall exclusively on her. And then when we stop, if we take the dog, it'll be really fun. But then if we also take the dog, it's going to be a bit of a ball ache. So there's pros and cons of taking the dog. And then when we stop places, we're going to have to find wheelchair accessible, dog friendly places to stay. We could also camp a little bit, but then there's finding a toilet that I can use. So yeah, there's complications of having a spinal cord injury and doing this sort of trip, which is takes a lot of planning. It still seems quite spontaneous, and yeah, just quite. I don't know. And then there's flying, which we could just fly there. It'd be so much cheaper. It'd be so much easier. But at the same time, it would be less of an adventure, just more of a holiday. So we're
Yeah.
just at the moment we're planning those two possibilities, and yeah, I just wondered if you had any thoughts, had any advice.
I have so many questions just about that in general. So like my question, at least in like when we're planning holidays, is always like, does Joe have that much time off, or can he take that much time off in like one stretch? So like that's not a concern. So you guys could just take off for like 2 weeks. No
So
issue.
because we live in a seasonal town, like I've been working all winter, she's been working all winter. As soon as that that all the tourists go home, that we have what's called interseason. So like basically the town shuts down for a few months, and then before the summer season starts, and then after the summer we have another interseason before the winter season starts. So yeah, we do. We have free schedules. We do have that much time off, and we're luckily at the moment we're in a place that we can afford to do it as well. So
Oh.
yeah.
Um, I think if you have the time and you can afford to do it, there's no reason not to go on an adventure. Apart from it being like a little bit like of a ball ache, like you said, to take the dog and all that stuff, which I'm now finding out. I'm like, how do people even travel with their dogs? Like, I don't even know how people do this.
Yeah.
My dog's afraid of everything right now. So if she leaves like the house, she gets like very scared. So, um, I can't imagine the time that she's going to be totally fine to just wander around, travel everywhere. But yeah, I can't imagine like not going on an adventure if I had the time and money and freedom to do it, especially if you guys are potentially planning on having a kid. That complicates things. So I'm like, do the adventure now where you have the freedom, because it, you'll realize that it's way harder when you have, even more humans to feed and nap
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But
That's kind of what Brian said as well, to be honest.
Where are you going again in Portugal?
Raposierra.
Which is
Or
near
it's
where?
like right down. It's like 5 hours south of Lisbon, I think.
Oh, okay. So it's, yeah. Um, what was I going to say? How far is it from like where you live to there? Like how many kilometers?
Oh, so it'll be a nearly 5,000 kilometer round trip.
Oh, that's a long way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's a long way, but I think it's fun if you have the money to stop at hotels and all that stuff. Yeah. What's your reservation about the adventure? Just
Because on the one hand, like all the driving has to be done by Chris, right? So there's over 50 hours of driving, and we can't split the driving because I can't drive the van because it doesn't have it's not an automatic. We could take the car, but the car is just I just don't trust the car that would make it,
yeah.
and the I don't know, just the van just makes much more sense. When we think about taking the van, it's a lot newer and both of us just think it's the better vehicle for the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm just right. So one of the reasons is because we're going to see my friend Benji and Roz, specifically to see where they live. He's one of my closest friends. I'd love to see the land that he's bought. He's bought a little bit of land and he's trying to live off grid. And if you've keeping up on the podcast that I record with him, he's had he's dealt with like forest fires and floods and then swarms of bees. It's wild. It's like biblical times there. But he's happy he's on the land, and I want to see what he's built and stuff. And he's a good friend, and I'd love to visit him. But when we arrive there, because it's kind of like a little bit of a time constraint, we've got to like really get down there. Are we going to just be like, fuck, we've just been driving for days, we're exhausted and maybe, a little bit stressed, like, do we want to bring that energy, or do we just want to hop off a plane, rent a car, or, get a transfer, whatever? There's just so many different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question is always, is there anything on the way that you want to see? Like, if it's not something that you're like, there's definitely places that I would want to see on the way, and it's worth doing that. Or if you do want to see those places and it's just going to be like a rush, then is it really an adventure? If it's not an adventure, I think an adventure is without a destination. So like an adventure is you're just being like, I don't necessarily have a timeline. I think that's a real adventure. Whereas if you have like a destination, you have to be somewhere at a certain time. There's, not necessarily things that you want to see on the way. Then I'm not sure that, yeah, I don't know. There's like a whole bunch of factors, I guess, like you said, that go into it. I struggled with this too because Joe's going to Portugal, and I was like, should I go to Portugal with him? And then I ended up deciding not to, because it was just in a really busy time. And he's like, why do you want to go? And I'm like, well, we can try and meet up with Fred. But then I'm like, but I don't know where you're going to be. And it's going to be like, do we have to like drive hours and hours? And in the end, I was like, I looked around Portugal. I'm like, there's not that much that I want to see in Portugal. So I'm like, should I spend all the money to go to Portugal for like a week with Joe just to see like a couple cool buildings and some beaches? I don't know. So I decided that wasn't worth the adventure, wasn't worth the money. And that if I was going to see you at some point in time, I'd rather go on an adventure that like was meant to be like a place to go see you and actually be able to hang out instead of be like, hi, bye, you're here for something, I'm here for something. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of agree in that sense. If you think you're going to be grumpy being, confined to a car for that long with Chris, especially if you can't share the driving and she's going to be awake the whole time and you might fall asleep and she might resent that and all that stuff, then maybe just flying is the actual adventure. It's more relaxing.
Yeah, exactly. So you make some really good points, and I was thinking the same thing. Like if you were going to be, you said you were going to be in Lisbon on the 15th, right, or something like that.
No, we're going to be in he's going to be in Cash, which is like CAIS or whatever, which is like
Oh,
3 hours from Lisbon or something like that.
oh, okay. Well, yeah, and then we were thinking about, if we meet up with you, like we'd have to like go to Lisbon and then or wherever Joe would be, and then we would meet up, and then it was just like we have to get there. We leave on the 10th, and then we have to get there on the 17th, and it feels like 7 days is. And like you say, are there places that we want to see? Yeah, there are some friends that we want to visit, but they're not like. I mean, there's a friend that I'd like to. Well, Chris wants to visit a good friend, but we don't like chat. We don't like FaceTime every day. Like we're not that close. So it'd be
Yeah.
quite cool to visit them, to see where they live and stuff like that. Like Chris has always said, the place where she lives is amazing, and it's just on the France Spain border. And she's always said, oh, we should see it, and I'd love to see it. And then we can go past Bilbao. Apparently, Bilbao's quite nice, but then there's a huge stretch where there's like not that much, so we just be
Yeah.
like plowing through. Which again, it would be if we could split the driving, it would be a bit nicer. But just putting that all on Chris is it's just a little bit. I don't know, but and like I say, it just I don't know. It's just there's part of me that thinks it could be a really fun adventure, but if it was on my own timeline, if it was just like
Yeah.
we can go and it'd be more relaxed, and then on the way back we can go past Torrevieja and visit Chris's mum, so that would be really nice, and she stays in a wheelchair accessible place, and then we can go up the side like by Barcelona all the way back. But it's just, when you get all the way, was it like 24 hours from your home, and then you've
Mhm.
got to drive all the way back, even though you can do it on a relaxed timeline and stop as many places as you want, it's still, it's a commitment. It's like a time commitment, and Chris and I are going to be in that little box together for a long time, and I don't know, we could get on brilliantly, or we could, start arguments. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. There's so many like things that in my mind just weighing up the differences, and at the moment I'm being way more pulled to, oh, we could just fly there and it'd be so much cheaper. Oh my god, I'd have so much more money. You know what I mean? Like with the rising fuel costs, we're probably gonna easily spend probably like between 1,000 and 1,500 just on fuel. So and tolls, road tolls. So, there's just so much to consider.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's just one of those things that you have to pick one thing and go with it because you can't do it twice. You know what I mean? Like you can't go one way and be like, oh, it was actually better to do the road trip. So every choice is the right choice. And I think it's just about what feels good for you right now. Because sometimes for me, honestly, like traveling has gotten to the point where it's not fun. I'm not doing anything when I'm traveling that feels any better than the things that I'm doing at home, like camping on my acreage or just finding places here that I can enjoy and spend time with my family. Because a lot of the time you think that it's going to be so adventurous going on vacation, and it is in a lot of ways. But yeah, I've just at this point in my life, I'm like, the thought of going on vacation is like exhausting to me. I'm just like, oh, I don't want to pack. I just want to be home and organize my house or like use my backyard. Like I haven't used my backyard in like 10 years. We use it maybe once a year, which is crazy. Like we have this beautiful deck that Joe built and we're never on it. We never go outside. We never do anything in our own home. And I'm like, when we go outside of our own home, we're always outside. We're always doing things. We're always finding something to do. And I'm like, why aren't we doing that when we're at home? Like,
Hmm.
why are we always trying to find an adventure someplace else rather than like trying to find the adventure that is right here? You know what I mean? So I think you already do a lot of that because you have, you live in a beautiful area. So maybe that's not a problem for you, but it always seems like it's a problem for me. So I'm more and more trying to be like, why do I want to go on this vacation? Like what is it for? What's the point of it? And more and more the answer is like, I don't know what the point is other than just spending a bunch of money. Yeah. So
Yeah,
That's
I
my
know what you
opinion.
mean. Like it would be very expensive. And on the subject of going out and about, I'm looking to buy a little scooter attachment, like your Ella Smart thing.
Yeah.
And I had two options, and I've basically decided to go with the one that you, the one that you didn't recommend. So I
Oh,
had the option of a Batek and it's called a Sirocco. So it's essentially like a tri ride. So basically it's like your first Ella Smart and your second Ella Smart, right? And I know that your second one that you really liked, the way it attaches, it's really handy and stuff. The second the one that I'm probably going to go for is the one that attaches to the in a different way, because as much as I see that it can be a ball ache to attach, I have a lot of core control, and I don't think it's an issue. Like my bike
yeah.
attaches that way, and I don't
Yeah.
really have an issue with it. Um, and yeah, I'm just really excited to like buzz around on one, something that actually works well, because my bike has become really temperamental lately. The battery's not very good. It doesn't really get me up the hill. I took Bonnie out for a ride today, which was really nice. But I've actually resorted to putting the bike in the car to drive down the hill, and then boost around the woods, and then get the bike back in the car. It seems to work better because the bike struggles up the hill. And to be fair, so does Bonnie. Like after a big
Yeah.
walk, she like really doesn't like walking up the hill. And last time I dragged her up the hill, because once I've got the momentum, I can't stop, right? And I'm dragging her up the hill, and then she was like, oh, like limping essentially, and I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. But she's obviously out of shape. She used to go up and down the hill last summer a lot, but yeah, anyway, so I'm looking to get a little scooter attachment, and that'll be fun. Again, that's something that will give me a lot of freedom to buzz around. And I've been like injured 7.5 years, or just over 7 years, and
Yeah.
I've never had one. And I like, they're so cool. I've got the bike, but it's different, So I want a little, little buzzer. So
I think they're amazing. I didn't want one. I was like, I don't want one. This doesn't make any sense. I have a hand cycle. Why do I need these? And then Joe was like, I'm getting it. I don't care what you say. And then I was like, this is awesome. I'm like, this is so much better than getting into a hand cycle or having to like use your own power. And when I was like at the music festival last year, and it was just like a kilometer between where we were camped and the music festival, and it was like all gravel and grass and hills and stuff, I could go back and forth so fast. Like it was me they were sending back and forth to get stuff from the trailer
yeah,
because I'm the fast one now. I'm like, oh, sweet.
nice.
Instead of people walking back and forth, taking forever. So I think that it gives you so much more freedom, especially when you're doing stuff. The only thing that's kind of annoying is if you're walking with somebody, it already feels like when you're walking with somebody and you're in a wheelchair, you're like, how slow can you go? Like, what is with your legs? Let's speed it up a little bit. So it's like a little bit frustrating when you're in something that can go fast and people are walking. So I much prefer if like they have other things too. Like my whole family has electric scooters, so we can all buzz around together, or bikes or whatever, and I can scooter while they bike. So I like when I'm doing stuff like that with other people. But yeah, it's amazing. I wouldn't want to live without one, especially if
Well,
you go somewhere camping or anywhere that's not, your typical smooth pathway. And like, I mean, you live in Europe, so it's like cobblestone central and all that stuff. So
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. So the other reason why I decided to go for this one, because the guy sent me the way the Batek attaches, and I watched your video, and to be honest, like it's exactly where the lap stacker goes, and I'm like,
yeah,
I
it
really
is.
like my lap stacker, and I'm like, I don't want to like not have my lap stacker. I'm getting used to it now, and I really like it. So I don't want to have to choose between the lap stacker and the Batek bracket. So, and then the other thing was that he said it was like a minimum of 17 inches. That was the smallest, and I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, I'm pretty sure you can get it to fit this. But it was in the UK, and he'll have to get it couriered over. And then the other guy messaged me, and he said that for €200, that the Sirocco technician would drive it all the way to my house and fit it on my wheelchair for me and run me through, like, how it works and stuff. And I was like, oh, sick. Like,
Oh, that's super
that sounds
worth it.
really good, because it's probably about 6 hours away, so there's no way I'm going to drive and pick it up, and I'd have to get it couriered anyway. So I had a clumsy French conversation with the guy this morning, and it says it's got a flight safe battery if I want to take it on a flight, and I'm
That's
just like,
huge.
yeah, this. And also because it doesn't have the Batek bracket, if I wanted to put it on my other wheelchair, I could put it on my other wheelchair, so I could take the off-road wheelchair, if the bike eventually breaks, which I think it will, because like I said, anytime I like tip the bike over, if I smash even like the smallest little thing, like it renders the whole thing useless. So, and now like both batteries are dying. One battery's dead and one battery's dying. I'm like, well, there's maybe I'll just eventually just get rid of it and I'll just have a little buzz, buzz it around. I do like the bike, but I'm looking forward to, and also I can take this wheelchair, rather than having the big chunky wheelchair. I can buzz around and unclip it, or if I work in the summer, I could, fly to work and back on it, and it just feels like such a nice little thing that give me a lot of freedom, and it'll be fun, like it looks like it's like quite fast and quite fun to nip around on. So
I think I'm excited for you to get in and to, see how you like it, get your feedback on it, because I think they're life-changing. Yeah. I just thought about this. You were talking about working in the summer. Are you done your job now?
In 2 weeks. I've only got 7 more early mornings. 7 more early mornings, and then I finish. I think I finish on the 29th of March, so that'll be good.
That is kind of nice to have that seasonality to where you live, because then there is some work as long as you can save your money while you're working during the like high season and then have the downtime. It's kind of like a forced holiday routine almost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I don't ski and there's not much for me to do in the winter apart from hibernate. I can, go to work. The days are short, the days are dark, if I just plow through work in the winter, luckily like the French system's pretty good, so I can like claim my unemployment benefit in the off season, and they give me my disability money.
Really?
So, and it's not frowned upon it in France. They're like, oh, you better claim that because we've been paying into the system, so that your employer is like, you're going to claim the unemployment benefit, right? And I'm like, it's called the chômage, and they're like, oh yeah, and they're like, well, you better because we've been paying into it. So I'm like, okay. Whereas in the UK, it's like quite frowned upon. Like, oh, you're going to go on the dole. Oh, you bloody loser. It's so weird.
It's definitely frowned upon here. Here you can't like double dip. If you have some sort of like employment benefit, you can't get that and another thing. Like the government is like one pot that you can like pick out of kind of thing. Even like doing things like double dipping like with your pension. Like, so there's like teachers that will work for their 35 years or whatever, have a pension. And this is like private stuff, but it's still sort of frowned upon if they like get their pension and then they go back to work like part-time as a substitute teacher. Sometimes people are like, that's double dipping into the system, blah, 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 blah. And we shouldn't be paying pensioners. We should be paying, people who aren't pensioners and blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, I don't get why any of that matters really. Like, cause you pay into it. If it's like, here we call it employment insurance. If you pay into it, why can't you claim it? Like, as long as you're claiming it for something legitimate, like you're unemployed. So.
And the chômage is pretty handsome over here as well. Like a lot of the, it's so weird because I think there's two sides to it. I know that they're like they call it welfare state, right? And it's really good. It gives people financial security if you're unemployed, but it is open to like people taking the piss, especially in seasonal work. I've claimed it so much because you work in the winter, you work in the summer, but in the in season you just get like free money. It's great. It's like having a job that gives you like 8 weeks of paid leave a year. It's amazing. It's very, very cool. And I was reluctant at first. I was like, oh no, maybe I won't claim it because of the way I was brought up. But the attitude here is so different. They're like, oh no, like you've paid into that, like your employer has paid into that. You're owed that money. And like your employer is like, you better go claim that. So it's the attitude is very different. However, I have noticed that going into like politics and stuff, that France has a huge like deficit, like they're overspending and they've got like a national debt. I know that all the countries at the moment are going into debt. So I don't want to sort of veer off too much, but like I understand that like giving everyone all that money is kind of like fiscally irresponsible if you're like in charge of all the money, but at the same time the attitude is just different, and that's why French strike loads. They're like, hey, I want my free money. You know? And I'm just like from a different cultural background, so I'm like, hey, I mean, it sounds good to me, but you know, I'm not gonna like strike about it, you know.
I don't know. I have such a hard time with that because, like, it's great to get, but if the country is like, you know, crippling under all this debt that they'll never get out from under, which I think like more socialist countries don't. I'm not sure if you like took economics in high school where you understand like that you just don't have an endless pot of money to help all the people that you hope that you can help. So yeah, I'm not sure. I can't qualify for any of that stuff here. So, because if you're self-employed, you don't employ, I've always mostly been like, not self-employed, but like with my YouTube channel or anything like that. And then before I was like a contractor when I was a manager for a nonprofit. So I was still self-employed technically, and you can't get any of the government benefits if you're self-employed. Really? I don't think you pay into employment insurance. You pay into like the pension plan when you're self-employed. You have to do that with your, like at the end of the year. But yeah, so I've never really qualified for any of that stuff. So I've never tried to get it. And I don't, Joe has always made too much money for me to qualify for any disability income. So, because here it depends on your spousal income. Yeah. So yeah, I just ignore all the programs and I think I don't get them.
The other thing about like, if we go away like on a road trip, I can still get money. You know, like, so it's like,
yes.
I feel almost guilty saying it out loud, you know, on a public platform. People are like, "What? You get paid for like?" So yeah. Although again, because Chris is unemployed, she does not have that, and she pays so much in tax. So I feel like it's weird. Like the amount that she pays in tax, they just give it back to me.
That's so funny. Yeah. That is one thing. Like we get a little like. Hang on, I gotta let my puppy out to pee. Just one sec.
Okay.
She's in her crate, but she's definitely needs to pee.
I will fill the dead air. So yeah, someone else. What did they say? If I could turn back time, I would do it. That is another thing I've considered. Is you know, if I could turn back time.
God.
If I could turn back time.
You're singing a song.
Road trip.
That's so funny.
Now we can get back to it. I was just trying to fill the dead air. I thought that you were going to be longer letting the dog out.
No, I was fast because she still has like a little indoor grass mat thing that we use. So I just have to let her out of the room. She knows where to go. So it'll be a little bit of a trick getting her to go outside, I think. But I don't know. Some people said it's like super easy, and then other people said it's going to be a nightmare, which I don't know.
You take it for walks, right? I mean, you can take
she
it for
won't
walks.
pee on walks though.
Oh.
She refuses. Like I've never seen her pee outside. She always waits till she gets home to go to her little grass mat thing. But I'm gonna start putting the grass mat because it's finally like the snow is starting to melt and it's not like such a annoyance for me to try and get outside and down to the like area where she'll have to pee. So I'm gonna just slowly move the little grass mat thing to the grass. And so that she gets used to going outside. But that is the nice thing about being inside because she just has to, I just have to let her out of the room.
And what's the weather like there at the moment?
Today it's going to be like 12 degrees, which is nice. But it's like it hasn't been that nice. And this winter has been really shitty and annoying, like super annoying.
So last week I spoke to Brian about how I've come out of hibernation, you know, like all of a sudden there's sunshine. You see the sunshine.
Yeah,
on the wall,
I see that.
Sunshine through the window. Like we're, you know, finally getting a bit of sunshine. The days seem a bit longer, and it's so good. And it's like I've got a new lease of life. I'm going out on the bike. I'm taking the dog for a walk. You know, Chris has actually gone on holiday this week. She just left this morning. So I've got the week to myself to look after the dog, look after myself. Oh, it feels so lovely. The snow is such a ball ache. And then all of a sudden, you just, you know, the day, you just come out like a bear from his cave. And you're like, yes, you know. And last week I spoke to Brian about that. And then it bloody snowed again. I was like, no, are you kidding me?
I
But it's
know.
already melted again. It was like one big blizzard, which was really nice for everyone who comes here skiing. You know, it was very, very nice. But
Yeah.
down here, it's like already melted again. So, but yeah, I had mixed feelings. I was like, I thought springtime was here. And then, you know, you look outside, it looked like a postcard. It was really beautiful. But because of the warm weather, it's melted very quickly.
Yeah. I can't wait for it to warm up. It's just been such a shitty winter, and like not being able to get outside with the dog, and you know, she's antsy too as she's getting older, and she likes going for walks sometimes, but she's gotten really reactive, which is I think I did like a disservice because I started taking her to these puppy playtime things, but I think that was like too much. Instead of her like going somewhere where she could like observe dogs, I took her to like a place where there was just dogs, and it was like a bad one. They were just like, okay, 1, 2, 3, take your dogs off a leash. And then it was like one lady trying to like manage all this. And she just got chased by like a bunch of big dogs. And so then she was like, under your wheelchair, I'm never coming out again. Dogs suck. So now she's like really reactive when she sees dogs. And so I'm like, oh, it's so annoying. So now I have to undo some of that stuff to try and
Oh,
make
that's a
her
bummer.
okay with being outside and not being immediately like, oh my God, there's a dog. I'm going to bark my head off at it because I don't want it to get me.
Well, it's important to socialize the dog with other dogs, but at the same time, probably, I don't know, maybe that was a bit much. It was like a mosh pit. You know?
Yeah, well, and I've done a little bit of research since then, and it basically like socialization is just teaching your dog to be neutral around other stimuli, like noises, dogs, and stuff. And so, like, you almost have to take it somewhere where they can see dogs first, and you pick very strategically which dogs they interact with first, so that it's not like a scary experience because you know you don't want to make it traumatic for them. And I took her to another place that had like a puppy playtime, and they were so much better. Like they matched the dogs for their temperament, and they put them in separate areas so that like a dog that was like, oh my God, I love dogs, and was like trying to chase after other dogs wasn't doing that to a dog that was a little scared. And she still didn't do great, but she did a lot better. And I'm in like a puppy sort of like obedience class thing just to help her socialize so that she can see the dogs around, but she's not like interacting with them. And the trainer there is really nice. So she's made sure that she's been like kind of far away, and so that she can kind of interact, but not be directly like in the faces of the other dogs. Yeah, I don't know. It's just annoying all this stuff that some dogs don't need any little, you know, coaxing or as much, I don't know, as much attention in that regard, because some dogs just they are fine with whatever. But yeah, she's timid about like everything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
we'll work
nice.
through it. She'll be okay.
So I heard that dogs needed to socialize because, like, for example, when like dogs bite you, I got this from a YouTube video, so take it with a pinch of salt. But like the guy was saying, oh, when dogs bite you, don't get them to stop biting you, but when they bite you really hard, you have to be like, ow, ow.
Yeah.
So because when they bite you, it's like a little sign of affection. And
Yeah.
when they bite other dogs, if they bite too hard, the dog will let them know exactly like, hey, that was too hard. You know, so that's why they sort of interact with each other and like they play
Yeah.
with their mouths and stuff like that. But I think maybe socialize it just with one dog. You know, like
Yeah. Yeah, I should have like my neighbor has a really calm, nice dog, and I should have just been like, "Hey, do you want to come over?" But I was like so worried about it because they were like, I was reading this thing that said like, you know, 16 weeks is like when the socialization window closes, and I was like, it's been winter here, so we haven't really done a lot, and but then I just think I went overboard being like every experience, take her to all the things. And so now she hates transitions. So once I like take her into a store, because I'm finding like dog friendly stores just so that she can hear people and see people. But she hates like going from the car to the store. Like once she's in there and she's like around and sniffing and stuff, she's okay. And sometimes she barks at people, but eventually she's just like, oh, whatever, they're walking around, I don't care. But she like the transition is like terrifying to her. And if she's not with me, so even if she's like being carried by Jamie, she's like freaking out to see where I am. And so it's like, she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, this is so stressful. I'm like, how do people do this? I just, yeah. The trainer said that like dash hounds, dachshunds, whatever, however you want to say it, are they kind of have like a natural genetic tendency to be a little bit fearful when they're outside of their own space, and when they're in their own space to be like bold, like keep things out of their own space, protect their own space. But then when they're outside of their own space, like, a little unsure. So she just said you have to work through it sometimes with breeds that are genetically bred to be more fearful and protective, rather than just like, she said a golden retriever is like, who can I play with? And it'll eat anything. And you have to pay attention to that so that, you're teaching it impulse control and it's not jumping on people and all that. So she's like, different things you have to train for different dogs.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
of
learning.
course. So have you been getting out a bit more since the snow's melted?
Yeah, for sure. Like we've been able to take the dog for like not crazy walks, because she's like, a 4-pound dog. But we went for a pretty long walk the other day, and she liked it, and she gets cold really fast too. So she kind of stiffens up. Like if she's outside and it's cold, she's like, by the end of the walk, she's like, oh, I need to get back in the warm. But yeah, it's been really nice being able to get outside more, especially even just letting the dog in the backyard to play around in the snow and, figure the world out, listen to all the dogs that are around our house and watch birds and all that stuff. She's been having fun doing that. So
Nice.
yeah, I feel less trapped for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. That sounds good. Yeah, I've been getting out a lot more since the world seems to have opened up a little bit. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Winter. I feel like coming out the other side of winter feels just so. Like I say, it feels like coming out of hibernation. In fact, I got loads of footage the other day. I took my little 360 camera out, and it was I got loads of footage, and I was really excited about making a video, but it's just so time consuming, and I don't know. I've got other creative projects on the go, and I just had this beautiful narrative of like, coming out of hibernation, isn't it wonderful? How it would resonate with other people, and then my enthusiasm for making the video just waned when I just realized how much work would have to go into it. And it's just a bit sad, really, because I like the 360 camera footage takes so long to edit, and I guess it's not really necessary, but it's a beautiful bit of B-roll, and I like to be quite creative with my videos, and maybe I've just put the creative process like on a pedestal, and maybe just taking the first step would be, but I haven't made a video for my channel in so long, and I just feel like just
I'm so far behind on anything that like, I haven't made a video in a long time. Other than my Precious Roar ones, but that was still a long time ago. I did a video for Blake Medical recently and sent it to them, and they were like, it's too long and wordy. I'm like, I spent like probably 12 hours editing that video and like 4 hours of footage down to 20 minutes. And it's too long. So I'm like, you guys need to send me a creative brief or a list of deliverables or like a project playbook or something. Cause I'm like, it's hard to work with brands. And then they just are like, just do your thing and then we'll see it. But if they don't like it, then you have to like re-edit it or refilm it. So it's hard. So that's my latest video. I'm waiting for them to give me feedback on, so I know whether I have to refilm it or not. But yeah,
what was it about?
It was, I did a video on, it was like a comparison of the different cushion mediums. So I pitted Blake Medical gel, which is like a solid dry polymer gel, versus liquid gel cushions versus air cushions. And so I put it out in the cold. So I did a cold exposure test. I did a pressure redistribution test by sitting on like carbon paper to see where like the areas of high pressure would show like marks. So I did that. I did sort of a comparison of how well or how easy they are to clean, and then like how much maintenance goes into like the daily upkeep of the cushions and stuff. So I did like experiments. So I did a couple of experiments with the pressure redistribution, the cold exposure. And then I did these other things where I made like charts and stuff. So it took me a long ass time to edit, to go through all that footage. First of all, just to do the experiments. And then I was like making tons of graphics so that I could show the charts, show all the things that I was checking off or not checking off. And I'm just like, oh my God, I get that it like, maybe I agree. It's a long video. 20 minutes is like, a long video, I guess, but I'm just like, I don't know how to edit it any shorter. And so I was just like, But they're an awesome brand. I really like working with them, and they're really great. They just haven't worked with a lot of people. Like I'm the only person that they've ever worked with, so they don't really know how to. There's no structure to our
Yeah.
brand deals.
No, I get it. Why don't you should upload it to your Patreon and we could give you feedback on it.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, sure.
I understand. I understand where they're coming from though, like because where TikTok has ruined people's attention spans. So getting them to sit down and watch a 20-minute video is a big ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got to kind of make it engaging and stuff like that. And yeah, I understand. Like to be honest, I watch most of my stuff on YouTube sped up because well, I just find I can consume it perfectly well just when it's sped up. And I can sort of save time there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So,
I'm always like the kind of person that I'm like, it really depends on the audience, right? If you want like some quick tips or something like that, because I could edit the video into like, head to head Blake Medical versus Air and then show the results or whatever, right? With like a fast little video, ding, 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 ding. Cause I made it like a boxing sort of thing. So I could probably edit that down into like a short little TikTok or like a short little video that's like a YouTube short. But the people who actually are interested in the cushion, like who are actually interested in the information, they don't want just like 2 seconds of it. They want like, why is this actually better? How is this going to benefit me? So I think you like have to balance the people who want fast, information at their fingertips and they don't want to spend a lot of time versus the people who actually do want a ton of information. Because like Joe is the kind of person that will watch something and he hates things that are, don't give me any of your personal stories. I don't give a shit about that. But then if he wants to do like buy something, he wants all of the full review of this product. He wants every little nitty gritty thing about it. And I hate that because I'm like, oh my God, that is just give me the high level overview. So Joe's like, lives in two worlds where he's just like, I don't want any of your personal stories because I don't care, but I do want all of the very valuable information. So he'll watch a video that's like an hour long if it's got all the information. But if somebody stops and does like, this is what I had for breakfast this morning, and now let's get into the video, he's like, I don't care. Fast forward. So I think you have to like balance the audience because there's some people who do like that stuff. I love people that do like coffee talks or just like random shit about their life. I like the people less than the content, and Joe likes the content more than the people. And so you're never going to win everyone, but yeah, it's a struggle to know how to make something engaging, but also informative.
So there's a guy on YouTube who does magic content, right? And he's doing it. Oh, I'm going to make a coffee and talk about magic. And I'm just like, just talk about magic. I don't care about your coffee. Like, and he's talking about his kettle boiling. And I'm like, bro, honestly, I couldn't give a shit about your coffee. And then the next one, he's like, oh, well, this time I'm going to put my shopping away and talk about magic. And I'm like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, mate. And he's like, oh, don't judge me on my choice of milk. I'm like, I'm judging you on this video right now, bro. Yeah. Like, I tuned in to hear you talk about magic. I couldn't care less what you brought from the supermarket or what brand of cereal you got, Like, just don't mix the two. Absolutely, just don't do it. It's completely distracting. And even like if I'm watching it on 2x, I'm like, skip. I don't care. Like, it's just complete waste of my time. So yeah, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's why like there's so many different preferences, and there are people like that get super famous with like get ready with me videos, and they're literally just telling stories while they're getting ready, and they're always like, oh, by the way, I love this foundation, and you know what I mean. It's not like I love the stories, but I could care less about what makeup they're using because I'm never gonna buy anything that they're talking about, and that's just not my thing. But there's people that make whole brands on that. And there's people whose personality is the entire point of their content. There's a girl that I follow, Jen Hamilton. She's on TikTok. She's like a labor and delivery nurse, and she has some great information about labor and delivery. But most of the time, she's talking about like her chickens and her big butt and random shit. But I like all of the content. There's no time that I ever like stop by her channel or her TikTok that I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested in what you're talking about. And some people are like, I hate that, So I think you just have to try and balance the entertainment value and allowing some of your personality to come through, because like the whole reason that I like your videos is because you have such a great personality. And whatever the video would be about, I wouldn't care. I would watch the video, whether it was about poker or shoveling or your job or whatever it is. People come for you. And then other people are like, all I want is wheelchair content. I don't give a shit, about your trips, what's going on, unless you're going to show me a wheelchair thing. And I get that a lot. Like if I do vlogs, there's people that will comment and be like, you didn't show how you transferred. You didn't show the wheelchair accessible hotel bathroom or whatever, because some of the times I forget about that stuff. And so then you have to balance the two of like, this is me, my personality, but here's also the wheelchair content. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard sometimes because you want to do the things that you want to do, but you also want to be helpful to your audience, and you don't want to be like annoying people with the personality, but you don't also want to just be a dry, boring video that's like just a plain old how-to. So yeah, I'm not really sure.
No, I get it. I get it. It's there's a bit of a trade-off, but like thing with the with the wheelchair content, it's like my personal, like it's Fredo the wheelchair guy, right? So it's like me, it's what I'm doing, it's what I'm up to, and I don't mind it. It's fine. But yeah, I don't have the enthusiasm sometimes. I feel like I have a great idea, and then I'm like, just I don't know. I've just kind of I've just lost enthusiasm, and I feel bad. I feel bad for saying that like out loud, but like I just sometimes it's just so much work. Like for example, the holiday vlogs. I love doing that because like they're for me. Like they're not just like, oh, look how cool my holiday is. It's like that's a cool thing for for me. It's like, oh, we went on holiday and I really captured the moment in a beautiful way. I got some beautiful B-roll, and it's like a video diary of my time on holiday, which I adore, and I love sharing it with a wider audience, and it gets well received. It might take me ages to edit, but it's something I'm enthusiastic about, right? Going for a dog walk, it's nice to talk about, but I kind of want to. Yeah, maybe I put too much pressure on myself to make the video like grandiose, and beautiful. But yeah, sometimes I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I could set the bar a bit lower.
I think that there's people like there's this girl that I don't follow her so much anymore, but she literally, her videos are all about living in New York, and a day in the life of somebody 30 something or 20 something living in New York. And she does that over and over and over and over again. And it's like the same shit. And she got so big so fast. Like I started watching her when she was like, maybe had like, 1,000 followers or subscribers. And now she's got like hundreds of thousands. And all she does is the same thing. I'm like, who can watch this every day? Where she's just like, I wake up, I make my coffee, I go for my walk, I get my newspaper, I come home, and it's changed a little bit because she was like working full time, and now she's a full time YouTuber. So now it's like day in the life of a 20 something full time YouTuber living in New York, or like then she moves, or she like organizes her closet, living in a 800 square foot, or not even that big. It's like a 300 square foot apartment in New York City or whatever, right? So she does all these like things that are very niche to like New York City, and I'm just like, yeah, how do you watch that over and over again? And I think sometimes we forget that what we film and what we think is boring because we were there. It's so boring when you're like, sometimes I watch my videos and I'm like, who would watch this? It's terrible. It's awful. And then, 2 years later, I go back and watch. I'm like, oh, that was actually a pretty good video. Like I, didn't do a shitty job, but like by the end of it, I'm like, this is garbage. Nobody's going to watch this. I'm just putting it out there because I want to be done with this. I hate it. And if I didn't have to film, if I could just like edit the stuff, I don't know, or not even that. I just like the ideas. I like coming up with the ideas, seeing the vision come to life. I want to be a director of my own channel. Because directors don't edit anything. They just like see the vision, make sure it gets captured in a certain way, and then somebody else does all of that shit, and then, they get to put their name on it. I'm like, can I be the, director of Empowered Para? That would be great. Eventually, at some point. I did like, this editor contacted me recently and was like, I almost like, I should take them up on it because it's really not that expensive. I mean, it is expensive, but he was like, I can give you 2 videos for $400 a month or whatever. And I'm like, that's so expensive, like to, but sometimes I'm like, I would get more videos out if I just paid somebody to edit it. But then I would have to figure out the workflow and all of that junk. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah.
On a different subject, have you watched this thing on Netflix called Inside the Manosphere?
No.
Oh, it's a Louis Theroux documentary.
It's a what?
It's a documentary by Louis Theroux, the guy.
I
Have
don't
you
know who
heard of
that
Louis
is.
Theroux?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind. It's one of the coolest things I've seen on TV for a while. Sorry, I didn't have a good way to segue into it. It just occurred to me, but I thought if you'd seen it, we could have a great conversation.
What's it
But maybe
about?
So like how there's. Have you heard of the Manosphere?
No.
It's like these guys, like Andrew Tate, for example. He's like the head of the Manosphere. He's like putting out content that says women shouldn't be able to drive or vote.
Oh, yeah.
And men are better than women, and because of this and stuff. So there are some lower level guys than him in the Manosphere, and Louis Theroux is a very talented British documentary maker, and he goes in. And for some reason, these guys let him in to their, little caves or whatever, and he just films them, and they make absolute tits of themselves, like really badly, like they're just being themselves, like brash. These are the sort of guys that think women want big muscles and big like gold watches and flashy cars and like expensive things and that women should be like subservient to men, and it's just really awful stuff. But at the same time, he exposes them in this beautiful way. It's just so cleverly done, where he doesn't really have to say much. They just do it to themselves.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic bit where this guy is talking about like, oh, one day it would be nice to have multiple wives, right? And he's talking about multiple wives, and then he catches his actual wife. And he's like, oh, whatever her name is, come and join the conversation. Immediately, this guy is not keen on her joining the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but just for a bit, not very long. And then he brings up like the multiple wives thing, and his wife is like, what? And you can see this guy just like, woo, just shrink up like a little cold little willy. It was so funny. He just like retracted. His demeanor changed because he's given off this like ultra masculine, my bitch does what she said, but what I tell her to do and stuff. And then when he's with his wife, he's just not the same. It's so fucking great. It's so good. And anyway, he says. And she's like, multiple wives? What are you on about, multiple wives? And he's like, oh, that's a conversation we can have down the line. And he's like, oh, hey, I'm sorry if I've made this awkward. He's in a very, very bashful British way. He's like, oh my God, I'm sorry if this is awkward. But you did say you wanted multiple wives. And then his wife's not very happy with that. And it's just so brilliant. And then by the end of the documentary, they'd split up because...
That's crazy. I think that there's like... That's like that manosphere. If you're talking about like the ultimate masculinity, where they want to go back to the time where women are subservient and all that stuff. That is like that end of the spectrum. And then there's like that toxic femininity where it's like women don't need men, like all this shit. Where I'm just like, if you look at the statistics about all the kinds of jobs in the world that men hold, we actually do need men. Quite a bit, because there's not very many women that are like, I'm going to climb up a broken power pole at 4 a.m. or do all of these crazy jobs that are so dangerous that like 90% of the people holding those jobs are men. We actually do need men. So like, I think it's just funny when we get too crazy on either side. It's ridiculous, like you say, like it's so ridiculous to watch, and I don't even know how people get that way. And they're not that way though. Like in real life, they're not that way. I can't imagine any guy. Well, actually that's not true, because there's plenty of really strict religious, not cults. I don't want to say cults, but there's like, religious factions out there that are still very strict. Women have to wear skirts. Women have babies, no birth control. Women don't get to make decisions and all that stuff. And the men fully have to support the family, make all the money and all that stuff. but there's plenty of women that live in that kind of situation and they love it. So they're,
Mhm.
you know, and I'm always like, are they brainwashed? But it's just a different, I don't know. I think it's just a different way of living. So yeah, I'm
You
not
should
sure.
you should
I'll
talk
watch it.
you should watch it.
I
It's
will watch it.
really good. It's really, really good. It's only an
If
hour and a
that
half
sounds,
long. Like
it
Chris and I
sounds
watched
like,
it and we were like, well, this is one of the best things we've seen on TV. Like it was just so, some of these characters are so utterly cringeworthy, and Louis Theroux is just there. He's just he's just filming them doing his own thing, and it's just so amazing. And there's this one guy. Again, he goes under the handle HS Tiki Toki. His name's like Harrison Sullivan or whatever. And he's just this ultra, like, he's ripped. He's like, he's just an utter bellend. He's awful, awful, awful human being. And then at the end, he's like, because he's live streaming. He's doing all this live streaming and stuff, which is shit anyway. But like, and then they catch him because he has this moment with his mum, and he calls his mum Mummy. And his
oh my God.
it's so good. So then he highlights that bit in his documentary, and then he's like, this guy, he just says to Louis Theroux, he's like, "Oh, aren't you mates with Jimmy Savile and stuff like that?" And he's trying to like randomly accuse him of being a paedophile, like
Oh,
with no proof whatsoever, just like guilt by association. He's like,
yeah.
"No, actually, I did a documentary exposing Jimmy Savile. So you do know Jimmy Savile?" And I was just like, "Mate, it's so weird." Like he's like trying to, he's riled up by the chat, you know, like live streamers get riled up by the chat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, mate, like, who are the chat? Like, why? Like, it's just like kids just chatting into, typing stuff in, and it's awful. It just exposes like the most awful people, and
Yeah.
I'd highly recommend you watch it. It is, it's funny, and it's also quite sad. Like, it's just, yeah.
I feel like that it might remind me of like Matt Walsh. Do you know who Matt Walsh is?
Yeah.
So a lot of people probably don't like Matt Walsh, but I feel like he's got a real knack, and sometimes he kind of bullies people. But I think he has a knack for inviting people to have conversations and making them look like total idiots. And you're just like, don't these people know what they're walking into? Like they're, you know, and they're so sure that they're going to be like, I'm going to defend my thing. And then he just asks the questions and they're just like, well, yeah, you know, they get so like mad. And so it's funny. It's just really funny. Sometimes I think he is really good at exposing some of those things where people are like, I'm this way, but then there's like a total contradiction in something that he shows. But yeah, most of the time, those men who are like, I'm so tough, I'm, you know, so masculine, are either like the mommy's boy that was totally spoiled rotten and entitled and thinks because his mom did everything for him that his wife should do everything for him, when really he's just a spoiled brat and not masculine at all. Like you're just like a wiener that did never learn how to, you know, be masculine, because the most masculine men are independent, they're free thinkers, they're, you know, resourceful, like all that kind of stuff. And that's, yeah, at least my version of masculinity. But yeah.
There's this one guy as well, which he wears these tight fitting suits, right? And if you ever see like a tight fitting suit, like it looks quite good in a photo, right? But when you're walking around in a very tight fitting suit, it looks awful. It looks like it's way too. It looks like you're wearing a suit that's way too small for you, right?
Yeah.
But it's like a
it looks like you're uncomfortable.
You know, It looks awful. It looks so he's like walking around in this suit, which is just, it looks 100% like it's just way too small for him, and he's just so flashy. He's got the big Lamborghini, and he just says like, some people think that's excessive. I don't think that's excessive. And I'm like, mate, you're driving a Lamborghini. Of course it's excessive, right? And then he takes Louis up to. He's like, oh, I lost my. No, he's like, I left my phone upstairs. Should we go up to the apartment? And he's got this massive apartment, and he's like, yeah, this is the small place. And I'm like, oh, that's utter cringe. Why did you have to say that? Even if it was the small place, the fact that you're so, what's the opposite of humble? You know, like just
conceited.
Just like, oh, you know, like, oh, this is my small apartment. You should see it at dusk. And it's like, oh, and he's the most likable out of all of the characters. Like,
I think that's like, people like that are exhausting. And I don't know how. You have to have low self-esteem. That's my only thing is if you have to outwardly talk about all the things that you're amazing at or that you're good at, you have to have low self-esteem. Like there's no possible way that you can carry around like a sense of self that's high if you have to constantly tell other people about it. I in this that I've mentioned it before, The Art of Spending Money by Morgan Housel. He talks a lot about that in like rich people communities. Like he said, a lot of the rich like social circles that you might find yourself in if you actually have this kind of money. And he's like, I experimented being in those. And he's like, then you just find a lot of people who have very little moral depth and a lot of, possessional, I don't know, power. Like they have a lot of shit, but it doesn't mean anything. And they have no morals kind of thing. And so he's just like, it's just kind of exhausting because he's like, a lot of that stuff is so that they look good to other people, but nobody ever looks at the thing that they have and is like, oh my God, that's so cool. They want it for themselves. So somebody might look at that and be like, that's a cool car. I wish I had one, but they're not like, that's a cool car. That guy must be awesome. They don't think that. They think like, oh my God, they feel envious that they don't have it, maybe. But a lot of the time they don't feel very like, there's no admiration for the person owning the thing sometimes, but it depends on the attitude of the person. Because if a person gets out of the Lamborghini and is like, shuts the door and doesn't give people the time of day and is a total dick, then you resent that person and you think he's an asshole. Whereas like if the person gets out and is like so kind and helpful and gives money to like a bum, then you're like, wow, that guy's super inspirational and he must use his money for good. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure. That stuff is like, it's so interesting to see people that are conceited and how they accept that of themselves. There's humble, like you can be too humble. There's like, I'm a little self-deprecating, and people that are very self-deprecating, I hate it. That if you like give them a compliment, like, no, not me. You know what I mean? I'm like, just take the fucking compliment. You're great. I love it. Whatever you're doing is good. So I think you can be too far the other way too. But yeah, those men that are, exhausting. Well, and them when you see them.
Yeah, that's my recommendation for you too, and we can talk about it next week.
Totally.
But yeah, anytime like someone drives past in like a Ferrari or something, like a lot of people, they just like, and maybe it's a British thing, but they're just like, he's compensating for a small dick, like no one's like, oh, cool car, man. Like,
yeah,
it screams insecurity or like,
yeah, that's what I said.
I don't know. Sometimes you might just really, really like sports cars. You might just be a really car guy and you just be into a nice sports car. And that would be cool. But like a lot of the time, I don't think anyone's people are impressed. They're just like, you're overcompensating. That is an excessive vehicle. It's also very impractical. You're not doing your shopping in it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's like the utility versus like the way it looks. You know what I mean? Like the vehicle, like a Toyota something might have all the exact same actual features like that give it utility, usefulness, but it doesn't have the sticker of like the BMW, Lamborghini, whatever, Mercedes, but it has all the stuff that gets you there, gets you what you need. And a lot of people will buy the expensive sticker because it's status versus utility. And yeah. I think that's just like, I hate that because it doesn't make sense to me to spend all that money on something that nobody actually gives a shit about. Nobody's paying attention to that stuff anyway. I mean, I notice a nice car here and there, but I don't actually care about it. And I would never buy one. I would never spend $300,000 on a car with 2 seats, a big engine, and that gets rusty in the wintertime here. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so we're coming to the end of the podcast. Yeah. Is there anything you want to say that we haven't said?
I don't think so. Jacob is getting ready to go to nationals for boxing in Calgary. So tomorrow I'm probably going to go watch his fight. So I'll be able to tell you guys all about that. The boxing coach rented a house and he made sure to be like, I'm making sure I rent a house that has a place for you to stay. So I'm like, okay, I'll stay the night at a house with all the boxers and see how that goes. Yeah, nice. Which should be interesting, but I'm sure it'll be great. So
that sounds good. Good. So next week, by the time we do this next week, you would have watched Inside the Manosphere, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts.
I'm going to put that in my calendar.
It's very, 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 very good.
Yeah.
I would recommend it. Anyway,
Cool.
Until then, we will see you guys next Tuesday. Well, yeah, next Tuesday or next Monday.
I don't know. Which day do you want it on? Because you're not working anymore, so.
Oh no, I'm working up until the 29th. But
right.
Chris comes back next Monday. Well, I'll figure it out. I don't actually know at the moment what is more convenient.
Actually,
I know that
let
she
me
comes back
see.
on Monday. But we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know. Sorry for the flip-flopping. I know this is probably annoying for you guys, but
No worries.
Casey, everybody.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.